Seneca says we suffer more in our imaginations than in reality. Stoicism for runners. Let's go. Hello, welcome back to The Vegan Runner. Today you join me on the Taka Trail for a nice little foundation run. So over the past few years I've really been getting into this philosophy called Stoicism. So just briefly, what is Stoicism? It's an ancient philosophy that goes back thousands of years, founded by a philosopher called Zeno, and then lots of really amazing and incredible teachers and Stoics along the way. Essentially, Stoicism's about living in alignment with that higher form of yourself, kind of like the best version of yourself, be the best you, and really it's about focusing on what you can control. So today we're looking at that quote from Seneca: we suffer more in our imaginations than in reality. Now, Seneca was this incredibly interesting Stoic philosopher. He was actually advisor for the Roman emperor, one of the cruelest Roman emperors that ever ruled, Nero. He was so cruel, in fact, that he eventually ordered Seneca to commit suicide. And all throughout Seneca's life, he tried to live in a Stoic fashion and embody Stoicism in all its forms. So when I read that quote, we suffer more in our imaginations than in reality, it really struck with me. I didn't really know why to start off with, but for the last few weeks it's been bouncing around my head, and I've been thinking about it quite often whilst out on a run. What does it mean? And I think it holds quite a lot of truth. Whenever we're scared of something, or we fear something, or we don't want to do something, more often than not it's our thoughts about that thing rather than the kind of reality of that thing. So in terms of running, even though I love the sport, almost always love being out for a run, there are things that I struggle with sometimes. Now, in the 80-20 plans, the Tuesday and Thursday workouts are always speed sessions. They're always kind of interval workouts. There's a really good variety of them, and some of them, to me anyway, are a lot harder than others. And mid-training block, you're coming up to a Tuesday or a Thursday speed session, and occasionally I can hear, my mind going, oh, that one's going to hurt, that's going to be difficult. Or it might be something like foam rolling. I do like to foam roll, or at least I like the foam rolling in principle, but sometimes again I can hear my mind going, it takes too long, it doesn't do that much good, it hurts sometimes, you have to get into awkward positions, I'd rather be doing something else. And then quite recently, something new to my training, I've been running those double days, and the second run being a recovery run. Sometimes I found that recovery run quite boring, quite tedious, going at that low pace, keeping in that low heart rate. So sometimes on the build up to those recovery runs, my brain's kind of firing here, it's going to be boring, zone 1's boring, that 30 minutes, 40 minutes, it's going to drag, the course is boring, and so on. So I think that quote clicked with me because actually the thing isn't hard. None of those things are hard, but my imagination, my thoughts around that topic before I've done that thing are sometimes making it worse than it needs to be. And you can find this in all aspects of running. Some people really don't like hills and will go out of their way to avoid them. Again, it's that kind of fear, isn't it? That suffering's more in your head than the actual suffering of going up a hill. So what do the Stoics say that we can do to help us out here and live more in line with our sort of higher self and help ourselves out, really. So first up, the Stoics believe that you should visualize the thing, whatever it might be, and play it over and over again in your head so that you become bored of it. Especially if it's something that you're worried about. Play it over and over again. Kind of think of almost like the worst thing that could happen, and just kind of play it through and try and see it in your mind and detach yourself emotionally from it over and over again. And they say to do this because we tend to worry about something but avoid those feelings, avoid that situation, and kind of distract ourselves from it. Whereas if you play the thing over and over, you can become a bit more detached from it and actually realise that it's not so bad after all. So I've started to do that, and also I like to visualise myself, whatever it might be, but enjoying it. So if I'm foam rolling, it might be that nice sort of release that you get when a really tight muscle eventually releases. If it's a recovery run, then I might think about some of the things that I might see whilst I'm out. Some of the nature, maybe I'll see a buzzard, maybe I'll see some swifts. Kind of visualize how nice and smooth and easy it feels. The other thing I like to do when I'm suffering in the moment, perhaps whilst on the run, is rather than thinking of and dwelling on the things that I'm not enjoying, start looking around and find something to be grateful for. So it might just be the fact that you are out and you're running and you're able to run in zone 1. Not everybody can do that to start with. It might be to think of what it feels like when you're injured and how much you would kill to be in the moment that you're in now, even if it is a slow recovery run. So in the moment, I find practicing gratitude helps. It just helps shift that focus and that mindset from negative to slightly more positive. So another little trick to help with the gratitude is sometimes, like, you'll say, oh, I've got to foam roll later, or I have to stretch later, I have to do my slow run later, whatever it might be. And rather than say I've got to, I've had to, say I get to do this later. And it's just a tiny little trick in the language, but it's far more powerful than you think. It's a different way of looking at it. I get to do this, and it's just a little reminder. Not everybody can, for one reason or another. One more thing that I think really helps is to just remind yourself of why it is you get to do that thing. So let's take foam rolling, for example. Just remind yourself why it is you need to foam roll. So your muscles are not quite so sore, they're a bit more relaxed and loose, and hopefully will be one of those little tools that prevents you from getting injured. Why is it you go out on the slow recovery runs? Again, gets that little bit of cardio benefit, loosens up the muscles, puts the body into a state where it can help with the recovery, and so on. And finally, and I learned this a lot through the ultra, was that everything is transient, everything changes. So you might be feeling really awful on a run, you may not be enjoying it, and then some time passes, all of a sudden you're enjoying it, and you think this will last forever, and then again something will happen and that will change. And our thoughts are transient, our mood's transient, everything changes. So when I'm not enjoying something, I really try to remember that it'll change, and then hopefully practicing a bit of gratitude, visualizing how I want it to feel. So there we have it, Seneca, Stoicism. We suffer more in our imagination than in reality. I think just remember, so much of this running game isn't about your body's physical capabilities. It's mostly, I think anyway, a large part is to do with how you think and those mental tips and tricks that you've got to get you through the tough times. So I'm going to turn this into a series every now and then when a quote like that or a Stoicism practice or principle comes up that I think really relates to us runners. But drop me a comment down below when your head's suffering either during a run or outside of running, when your thoughts are quite negative about something. Might be a workout that's coming up, stretching, foam rolling, strength work, whatever it might be for you in running. What is it you do? What is it you tell yourself? And hopefully we can help each other out. Right, thanks for watching, and until the next one, be the best you.